The hospital corridor was wrapped in the smell of disinfectant and silence. "I'm Emma." I stood frozen in front of the pediatric ICU doors. Inside, my 8-year-old daughter Lily lay sleeping. No, not sleeping, she'd lost consciousness. The doctors said she had a head injury and they were carefully monitoring her condition. It's been 5 years since I lost my husband to cancer, and Lily and I have been living on our own ever since. Working as a nurse at a children's hospital while raising a daughter hasn't been easy. But we were happy. At least, we would have been if my mother and sister hadn't been involved. Every weekend, I was forced to go to my mother's house. Cleaning, cooking, errands. And taking care of my sister Rachel's 3-year-old twins. I was an unpaid housekeeper. That wasn't all. Lily was also taken to her grandmother's house every weekend and made to look after the twins. Making an 8-year-old child care for 3-year-old twins didn't seem normal to me. But my mother justified it, calling it discipline. When I tried to refuse, my mother would berate me. She'd tell Lily, "Your mother is a cold person." Since my father died 8 years ago, my mother had become increasingly controlling. She told me that all of Dad's inheritance had gone to her. That's what the will said. So I had no rights to anything. But 3 months ago, a light shone into my life. I fell in love with David, a pediatric surgeon who worked at the same hospital. He was kind and sincere, and he loved Lily like his own daughter. Lily was thrilled, saying, "I want David to be my daddy." We were going to get married in 3 months. David was furious when he learned about my relationship with my mother. "Making Lily an unpaid babysitter every weekend is abuse," he said. And he suggested we distance ourselves from my mother after we got married. I agreed. For the first time, I thought I might escape my mother's control. But my mother was enraged by this. "You're going to abandon me?" she screamed. Rachel cried and clung to me. "Who's going to watch my kids if you're not there?" "Lily enjoys helping." But lately Lily had been saying, "I don't want to go to Grandma's house." When I tried to ask her why, Lily would go silent. Had something frightening happened? I should have noticed. Friday night, I took Lily to my mother's house. It was for my sister's party preparations. While I was out shopping, Lily stayed at her grandmother's house. At 7 p.m., my mother called. Lily fell down the stairs. I called an ambulance. When David and I rushed to the hospital, Lily was unconscious with a head injury. The doctor said, she fell from the second-floor stairs. There's bleeding in her brain. I couldn't believe it. But Lily's a careful child. She wouldn't run on the stairs. My mother said coldly, "Children suddenly start running." I wasn't watching. That cold attitude made me uneasy. Her granddaughter was hovering between life and death, yet my mother showed no distress at all. As if it were someone else's problem. While holding Lily's small hand in the ICU, tears streamed down my face. "Wake up, Lily. I can't live without you." Then my cell phone rang. It was my mother. My mother's first words were completely different from what I expected. "Is Lily okay?" I answered in a trembling voice. "She hasn't regained consciousness yet." My mother just said, "I see," briefly. Then came the unbelievable words. "By the way, tomorrow is Rachel's promotion party. You'll handle the venue decorations, right?" I couldn't believe my ears. What did she just say? My daughter is hovering between life and death, and she's talking about party decorations. "Mom, this isn't the time for..." My mother's voice turned cold. "You're not a doctor, so there's nothing you can do. Are you going to ruin your sister's important day?" When my mother said that, Rachel seemed to grab the phone. "Do you know how hard I've worked? This party is the most important day of my life." I desperately searched for words. "I'm sorry, I can't go right now. Lily is..." My mother grabbed the phone back. If you don't come, I'm cutting you off. It's your choice. The phone was hung up unilaterally. I stood there stunned. My daughter is unconscious, and my mother only cares about my sister's party. Is this really family? My colleague Nicole, holding a coffee cup, approached in the hallway. She was also a close friend I'd worked with. I overheard. Is your mother always like that? Nicole looked at me with worried eyes. I nodded weakly. She's been like this forever. I just have to endure it. Nicole sat down next to me and handed me the coffee. Emma, that's abuse. Making an 8-year-old an unpaid babysitter every weekend is also abuse. I was in the same situation until 10 years ago. I looked at Nicole. It was the first time she'd talked about her own past. Nicole began to speak quietly. My mother was the same way. She controlled me and thought my life belonged to her. It took me 20 years to escape. But I'm glad I did. I'm truly happy now. Tears were about to overflow. But abandoning my mother. You're not abandoning her. You're saving yourself. Nicole squeezed my hand. You have choices. You have David and your daughter. They're your real family. For the first time, I began to think I might be able to escape my mother's control. But I was scared. Could I live without my mother? Nicole said with a serious face, Hey, do you really think Lily falling down the stairs was an accident? I gasped. What are you saying? Because your mother isn't worried at all about Lily being hurt. Those words pierced my heart. That's right, my mother showed no distress at all. As if she'd known from the beginning. But surely, that couldn't be. David came back. His face was tired, but he smiled gently when he saw me. Lily's condition is stable. But she still hasn't woken up. I was filled with feelings of self-blame. It might be my fault. If I'd been a better mother, if I hadn't taken her to that house. David put his arm around my shoulders. Emma, listen. You're a wonderful mother. Your mother is the one who's wrong. In his arms, I felt safe for the first time. David continued, When we get married, I'll protect you and Lily. You'll never have to obey those people again. I clung to David while crying. In his embrace, I felt protected for the first time. Since my husband died, I'd been fighting alone. But I'm not alone anymore. Then my smartphone started ringing. Messages kept arriving. From my mother. Why aren't you answering? Rachel is crying. You're the worst sister. If you don't come tomorrow, I really will cut you off. Making a big fuss about Lily to ruin Rachel's day. I stared at my smartphone with trembling hands. The messages wouldn't stop. Messages from my mother and sister filled the screen. My daughter is unconscious, and all they care about is the party. David took the smartphone from my hand. That's enough. Those people aren't family. He was right. This isn't family. If they were family, they'd worry when a daughter is hurt. If they were family, they'd understand my feelings. I said quietly, I'm ending this. Nicole nodded. I support that decision. I took back my smartphone and opened my mother's contact. Then I pressed the delete button. Next I deleted Rachel's contact too. My finger was shaking, but I pressed through to the end. Nicole smiled. Well done. David squeezed my hand. I'm here with you. For the first time, I felt freedom. It was like a heavy burden had been lifted from my shoulders. But at the same time, anxiety flickered in the depths of my heart. Why did the accident happen now, at this timing? Why wasn't my mother upset at all? I returned to Lily's hospital room. I held my daughter's hand as she lay in the small bed. Lily's face was pale, and her head was wrapped in bandages. The monitor was steadily marking her heartbeat. "Lily, wake up soon," I spoke to my daughter. "Mommy isn't their slave anymore. We're going to be a new family with David. The three of us are going to be happy." I thought I felt Lily's finger move just a little. Or was that my wishful thinking? I gripped my daughter's hand tightly. David placed his hand on my shoulder from behind. "I'm here with you." That night, I slept at my daughter's bedside. In my dream, the three of us were in a house with a wide yard. Lily was running around laughing. No mother, no sister, just our world. That was the future I wanted. Saturday morning, I was at Lily's bedside. Outside the window, the morning sun was beginning to rise. The beginning of a new day. But my heart was heavy. David came in with coffee. "Why don't you rest a little? I'll watch her." I shook my head. "I'm fine. When Lily wakes up, I want to be the first person she sees." David sat down next to me and handed me warm coffee. We watched our daughter in silence. Lily's small chest was rising and falling regularly. She's alive. That alone should be enough to be grateful for. Then the hospital room door opened. Barbara and Rachel came in. Both were dressed flashily, as if they were on their way to a party. I stood up in surprise. "Why are you here?" My mother ignored me and approached Lily's bed. "I came to check on Lily. And I need to talk to you." Rachel looked at her watch and said irritably, "What about the party preparations? It's already 11 o'clock. I looked at Rachel in disbelief. "You're still going on about that?" My mother looked at me with cold eyes. "Emma, face reality. Lily still hasn't woken up. Nothing will change with you sitting here." Something inside me snapped. "Get out." Rachel said in a shrill voice, "My party starts at 2 p.m. The venue decorations aren't done, the cake, nothing." David stood up. His voice was low, as if suppressing anger. "Please leave. Right now." My mother glanced at David but ignored him and turned back to me. "Emma, you're too cold to Rachel. You always have been. You only think about yourself." I looked my mother straight in the eye. "Lily is hovering between life and death, and you're talking about a party." Rachel started crying. It was an exaggerated way of crying. "This is the most important day of my life. Do you hate me?" My mother crossed her arms and said, "That's right. You've always been jealous of Rachel." The anger that had been building up inside me for years was about to explode. But I said quietly, yet with anger, "That's enough. Don't ever come back." My mother's face stiffened. "What did you say? You're not family. It's over." Rachel screamed hysterically, "What about my party? 50 guests are coming." I answered coldly, "I don't know. Do it yourself." My mother's face turned bright red. "Emma, listen carefully. I'm your mother. You have an obligation to obey me." "Not anymore." My mother took a step closer. In her eyes was a mixture of anger and some other emotion. "Fear? Surely not. Don't be ridiculous. Do you know how much I took care of you? I paid all your tuition." I looked my mother straight in the eye and said, "That was Dad's inheritance, wasn't it?" My mother's expression froze for a moment. "What are you talking about?" Then Lily moaned softly. "Lily." We all rushed to my daughter's bed. Lily was slowly trying to open her eyes. My heart was pounding hard. "Lily. Are you okay?" Lily's eyes opened. At first they weren't focused, but gradually she seemed to recognize my face. "Mama." It was a weak voice. Tears overflowed. "Lily, it's Mama. It's okay, I'm here. My mother stepped forward. Lily, thank goodness. It's Grandma. The moment Lily saw her grandmother, her body went rigid. That reaction was clear. Fear. Lily started crying. Mama, I'm scared. I'm scared of Grandma. I hugged my daughter. It's okay, Mama's here. David said to my mother, please go home now. Rachel shouted, wait, what about my party? Then Lily, trembling, said in a small voice, Mama, I didn't fall down the stairs. The air in the room froze. What? I looked at my daughter's face. Lily continued while crying, Grandma pushed me. The blood drained from my mother's and sister's faces. David stepped forward. What did you just say? Lily continued talking while trembling. Grandma pushed me down the stairs. She told me to delete the photos, but I didn't. My mind went blank. Photos. My mother said hastily, this child hit her head. She's just confused. Rachel also shouted in a panic, that's right. It's a child's delusion. But Lily continued crying, I took photos with my tablet of Grandma and Aunt Rachel stealing Mommy's money. And then. I was speechless with shock. Stealing money. Photos. What is she talking about? But Lily's eyes were serious. She didn't look like she was lying. David started to leave the room. I'm calling security. My mother shouted, wait. This child is lying. I said in a cold voice, get out. Right now. David came back with security guards. My mother and sister resisted desperately, but the guards mercilessly escorted them out of the hospital room. Rachel was shouting in the hallway, the party, my party. My mother was also shouting, Emma. You're going to regret this. The door closed. Silence returned. I hugged my daughter while trembling. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Lily. Mommy couldn't protect you. Lily cried in my arms. Mama, do I have to go to Grandma's house anymore? I answered while crying, never again. I promise. David embraced both of us. It's going to be okay now. I'll protect you both. For the first time, I felt the warmth of a real family. Not blood ties. Love and respect and protecting each other. That's what family is. But Lily's words wouldn't leave my mind. The next day, Lily's condition was stable. The doctors said it was a miraculous recovery. But I knew. My daughter is a strong child. When my husband died, Lily supported me. Now it was my turn to protect my daughter. In the morning, the police came. A young female detective spoke to Lily in a gentle voice. Lily, something scary happened, didn't it? Can you tell me about it? Lily, holding my hand, began to speak in a small voice. On Friday, I was at Grandma's house. While Mommy was out shopping, I was playing with my tablet. The detective nodded gently. And then, Aunt Rachel came out of Grandma's room with some papers. They were both laughing. They said, Emma's money. So I took a photo. I gasped. What did my daughter see? Lily continued, then Aunt Rachel took a bank card and went out. I followed her. I took photos of her withdrawing money at the ATM, lots of money came out. The detective leaned forward. What happened after that? Tears welled up in Lily's eyes. When I got back home, Grandma was looking at my tablet. She found the photos. Grandma was really angry. She said, delete these photos. If you don't delete them, I'll delete you. I hugged my daughter. What had they done? I was scared. But I didn't delete them. Because I thought I had to show Mommy. Lily continued trembling. Then Grandma took me to the stairs. She said, "Don't tell your mother. Or else next time you'll get hurt worse," and then she pushed me. The detective's face became stern. "Do you remember anything else?" Lily looked up at me. My tablet, it's at home. The photos I took are there." The detective stood up. "That's important evidence. Let's go get it right now," David said, "but Emma's mother has a spare key to the house." Nicole came in from the hallway. She'd just finished her night shift, but came because she was worried about us. They might have already gotten in. The evidence might be destroyed. David said with a determined expression, "Let's go now." We rushed to the house. In the car, my heart was pounding hard. If the evidence has been destroyed. If it's dismissed as Lily's delusion, just as my mother says. When we arrived at the house, the door was open. I could hear my mother's and sister's voices from inside. Rachel's voice. "Found it. This is it." My mother's voice. "Break it quickly." I rushed in. "What are you doing?" What Rachel was holding in her hand was Lily's tablet. Rachel tried to hide it in a panic, but it was too late. "This isn't what you think," David said coldly. "We called the police." My mother approached me. "Emma, calm down. We can talk about this. We're family, aren't we?" I looked my mother straight in the eye. "It's too late." The sound of sirens approached. The police arrived. The detective came in and nodded when she saw the situation. "Barbara Miller and Rachel Miller, you're under arrest on suspicion of attempted child abuse and destruction of evidence." My mother shouted, "What? I didn't do anything." Rachel cried out, "Mom! Help me." But the police mercilessly handcuffed them both. The tablet was confiscated as evidence. The detective said apologetically, "The tablet has been damaged. We might not be able to recover the data." I was in despair. Without evidence, my mother and sister might escape punishment. Lily's testimony alone is weak. Children's testimony is sometimes considered unreliable. That night, we returned home. Lily was in condition to be discharged. After putting my daughter to bed, I sat down on the sofa. My body felt heavy with exhaustion and despair. David sat next to me. "Emma, didn't you set up cloud backup on Lily's tablet?" I gasped. "That's right. When I bought Lily's tablet, I set up automatic backup." I hurriedly opened the computer and logged into the cloud account. My hands were shaking so much I entered the wrong password twice. On the third try, I finally logged in. The moment I opened the photo folder, I gasped. All the photos were still there. More than 20 photos of Rachel using my card to withdraw $5,000 at an ATM. Looking at the dates, they'd been taken over the past 3 years. Why did Lily have so many photos? I see, my daughter had noticed all along. She just didn't know how to say it. There were also photos of my mother signing bank documents. Looking closely, she was forging my signature. A photo of my mother and Rachel toasting at a fancy restaurant. They were smiling, and on the table was a note that said, "Emma's money." As if they were enjoying a game. But the most shocking thing was the next photo. A photo of my father's will. The real will clearly stated in my father's handwriting, "All assets to my daughter Emma." Next to it was a forged will. "All assets to my wife Barbara." I trembled. My father had left everything to me. But my mother forged the will and took everything. David pulled out a calculator. He confirmed each photo one by one and calculated the amounts. "Emma, this is over $320,000 total." I couldn't believe it. $320,000. Nicole looked at the photos and said, "And this includes your father's inheritance of $150,000. Will forgery is a felony." My tears wouldn't stop. What my father left for me. What he left for the future of Lily and me. My mother had stolen it all. The next morning, I submitted all the evidence to the detective. The detective looked at the evidence and became seriously concerned. This constitutes fraud, document forgery, attempted child abuse, and attempted murder. There's sufficient evidence. 3 months later, the trial began in court. My mother and Rachel denied all charges. My mother testified on the stand with tears streaming down her face. I love my daughter. I was just managing the inheritance for her benefit. The prosecutor stood up. Then explain this photo. On a huge screen appeared the photo of my mother and Rachel laughing at a restaurant with Emma's money. The courtroom buzzed. The prosecutor continued, furthermore, the defendant pushed her 8-year-old granddaughter down the stairs. The reason was to destroy evidence of their crimes. Lily's video testimony was played. Since she was a child, she didn't appear in court directly, but her pre-recorded testimony was played in court. Lily on the screen spoke in a small voice. Grandma said, "Delete these photos. If you don't delete them, I'll delete you." I was scared. Then she pushed me at the stairs. The courtroom fell silent. Several of the jurors were wiping away tears. My mother shouted, "That's not true. That child is lying." The judge banged the gavel. Silence. On the day of sentencing, the courtroom was packed. It was widely reported in the local news as the case where a mother tried to kill her grandchild. The judge read the sentence. I sentenced defendant Barbara Miller to 12 years in prison and defendant Rachel Miller to 8 years in prison. Furthermore, I order full restitution of the embezzled $320,000 to victim Emma Johnson, plus $500,000 in damages. My mother and Rachel cried out. Rachel shouted, "Mom! Help!" My mother looked at me and shouted, "Emma! Please! I'm your mother." I just stared with cold eyes. Then I said quietly, "You're not my mother." As I left the courtroom, I felt true freedom for the first time. David held my hand, and Nicole was smiling. Outside, Lily was waiting. My daughter ran up to me and hugged me. "Mama, is everything okay now?" I hugged my daughter. "Yes, it's all over now." I heard that my mother was spending her time alone in prison. No one came to visit. All of my mother's friends had left. After the case where a mother tried to kill her grandchild was widely reported in the local news, people disappeared from around my mother. Rachel was divorced by her husband. She also lost custody of the twins. Rachel's ex-husband said he couldn't keep the children near a woman like that. Rachel is now serving time in the same prison as my mother. Letters from prison arrived several times. From my mother. I didn't do anything wrong. Emma is the one who's all wrong, it said. I threw away the letters without reading them. I won't be hurt by my mother's words anymore. 3 months later, David and I got married. It was a ceremony in a small church. Lily wore a white dress and walked beside me. My daughter proudly carried a bouquet. "Mama, you're beautiful," Lily said with shining eyes. David was waiting for me in front of the altar. There were tears in his eyes. We exchanged our vows. In sickness and in health, I vow to love, respect, and protect each other. Nicole and hospital colleagues gathered at the ceremony. It was a ceremony without my mother or sister, but it was wrapped in warm blessings. This is what real family is, I thought. People connected not by blood, but by love and respect. I bought a small house with my father's inheritance. I installed playground equipment for Lily in the yard. A swing and a slide. Lily plays there every day. Laughter echoes in the yard. Every time I hear that voice, I feel happy. The repaid $320,000 was saved as Lily's college fund. I want my daughter to choose her own path. I want her to pursue her dreams without worrying about money. David and the three of us spend every weekend together. I'm no longer anyone's unpaid housekeeper. I'm no longer controlled by anyone. We're free. One Sunday morning, the three of us were standing in the kitchen. David was making pancakes, I was cutting fruit, and Lily was setting the table. Lily said happily, "Mama, this is a real family, right?" I hugged my daughter. "That's right, Lily." David said with a smile, "It'll always be like this." Lily hugged both of us. The three of us held each other for a while. I wished this moment could last forever. Then my cell phone rang. Looking at the screen, it was a call from the prison. I didn't answer the phone. And I set it to reject calls. "The past is over," I said quietly. David placed his hand on my shoulder. "Let's live looking forward." We sat down around breakfast. The sweet smell of pancakes. Lily's laughter. David's gentle smile. This is my family. This is my life. I continue to work at the hospital. One day, an abused child was brought in. The mother was shouting, "I didn't do anything wrong. This child is the one who's wrong." When I heard that voice, I remembered my own mother. I gently hugged that child. "It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong." The child clung to me while crying. The small body was trembling. Like I used to be. Like Lily used to be. Nicole smiled next to me. "You've really become strong." I nodded. "It's thanks to you." That night, when I came home, David and Lily had made dinner and were waiting. "Mama, welcome home." Lily came running over. David smiled. "Are you tired?" I looked at the two of them and smiled from my heart. "Not at all. Because when I come home, my family is here." The three of us gathered around the table. Lily was happily eating pasta. David was talking about work. An ordinary day. But this is what's precious. I thought to myself. Real family isn't about blood ties. It's love and respect and protecting each other. That's family. Lily looked at me while laughing. Seeing that smile, I almost cried. I'll never let anyone hurt Lily again. I'll never be controlled by anyone again. This is our new life. This is real family. The three of us held hands. Whatever difficulties lie ahead, we can overcome them together. Because that's what family is.